Hey, what's up, everyone? So just completed a speed run for Rulers of the Outer Worlds Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. 3 minutes, 11 seconds with Cloud, Aerith, and Tifa built as mages. All of the materia and the breakdown are all shown at the end of the video, so I hope you can enjoy, and I hope this helps you with this challenge. All right, this is round one, and it's going to move fast. So we start out going over to Aerith for an Arcane Ward on Cloud. Cloud's then going to do an ATB boost and a non-magnified Thundaga on Kujata. Switch back to Aerith for another ATB boost and then a magnified Aroga on both Phoenix and Kujata. Cloud then does power cleaves, one to both of them, Kujata and Phoenix. Another one just has to hit Kujata for Cloud to have two ATB, do another Thundaga to Kujata, which takes him out, then switch to Tifa, do a Blizzaga on Phoenix, then switch to Cloud and select the Synergy Attack Firework Blade, and that should be it. This is the fastest way I've figured out to do this round, and it works quite nice. All right, now we're going to move into round two, which is a similar mechanic to round one. So we're going to switch to Aerith, drop an Arcane Ward on Cloud. Cloud's going to do ATB boost, and this time a magnified Thundaga on both Bahamut and Titan. Then we're going to switch back to Aerith and do a magnified Aroga on both of them. Then we're going to do a rush attack on Titan and start doing power cleaves to build up ATB. So you see one power cleave hit, the second hit, right? Cloud and Tifa almost at full. Then they did a spell blade. It missed for some reason, but you just need to get Cloud with 2 ATB, go back to the ward, do another magnified Thundaga that should take out Titan and stagger Bahamut. Then Tifa has 2 ATB, so you want to go back to the ward and do a non-magnified Aroga to max the damage, and Cloud can then be doing a spell blade at the same time, and that should take out Bahamut, and that's it for the round. All right, next coming up, round three. Here we go. Again, same general mechanic, right? Start off with Aerith, drop an Arcane Ward on Cloud. Cloud's going to do an ATB boost, and this time he's going to do a Thundaga non-magnified on Odin. If that is done right, Odin should vanish. Then back to Aerith, ATB boost, and she's going to do Thundara on each arm of Alexander to knock out the arms. Cloud does a rush attack in and should go near the left arm, then start power cleaving to build up ATB. So he just hit one. So you want to hit 3 here, right? And if you miss, just be very careful because sometimes Alexander, he lights up the ground and does a blast attack with that light. Once you hit 3 and have 2 ATB, go back to the ward and do a Thundaga with Cloud. That should stagger Alexander, do another rush attack, then start spell blades. It should take 2 to take out Alexander, and then Odin will appear behind you and do another spell blade as well on Odin. So you kind of have to do this all quickly. There's the third spell blade on Odin, then go back to the ward, do another Thundaga, right? Then switch to Tifa and have her go to the ward and do a Blizzaga, save some MP there, and then have Cloud do a rush attack and set up a spell blade. It'll be that animation. Spell blade, Tifa's Blizzaga hits, the spell blade hits right after, and it should only be one more, and that is it. That's round 3. All right, Gilgamesh, round 4 is next. So you want to use the same mechanic we've been using for rounds 1 through 3. So Arcane Ward on Cloud, Cloud ATB boost, then non-magnified Thundaga on Gilgamesh, and then with Aerith, so you want to use this time Faraga after the ATB boost because Gilgamesh is weak to fire. Rush attack from Cloud, get in and start doing power cleaves to build ATB. You could do 2. And then I tried to do a spell blade here, and it didn't work. I got knocked out of it, but that's okay. So you're close to Tifa and Cloud having 2 ATB. Then you switch to Tifa. What I like to do, because she's so fast, is just kind of try to hit Gilgamesh a couple of times with basic attacks and kind of move around him. And then, so if I'm on Cloud, I'm just trying to avoid Gilgamesh and doing some sword slashes. And because I got a couple in, and because I got a couple punches in with Tifa, now Cloud could go back to the ward, right, with 2 ATB and do 2 Thundagas again. And Tifa now is going to do 2 Faragas as well. And this is going to put Gilgamesh pretty close. He's staggered, so it's going to do big damage. Cloud's doing spell blades to, again, build up ATB for him and for Aerith. right? Cloud now has 2 ATB on the ward, so he's going to enter in a Thundaga, and Aerith has 2 ATB right on the ward, very close to being off, but on the ward for Faraga. Gilgamesh goes into this animation sort of thing here. You just have to wait to get through that. And then Cloud should hit him with 2 Thundagas, and Aerith should hit him with a Faraga right after. And there it is, and that's it. So sometimes it's tough, but that time was pretty easy, and that mechanic should work. All right, the next fight is against Virtual Sephiroth, the final battle. So you're going to use the same mechanic. Go to Aerith, drop an ATB ward on Cloud, do an ATB boost with Cloud, and use Thundagas. Same thing, go back to Aerith, ATB boost, and use Thundagas. So Thundaga's going to keep Sephiroth on the ground. Right after you do your Thundagas with Cloud, you want to be using power cleaves to build ATB. It's important to do that. This is the only way to beat Virtual Sephiroth with this build. Now get out of there after 2. Right, he's going to use Shadowy Chains and then go into counter mode. There you go. And you just got to punish mode counter, and now Cloud has 2 ATBs. Go back to the ward and use 2 more Thundagas. Tifa is very close to 2 ATBs as well, right? So you want to just hit Sephiroth quick and then go back to the ward and use Faraga here, right? When Sephiroth gets 50% health, he's going to switch to having an affinity for Faraga, but until then, it's fine to use that spell. And basically, when his HP is below the E in Sephiroth, he's below 50%, and he switches into that affinity of fire. He's still dangerous here, though. He still does physical moves, but when you see the build, every character in this build has elemental protection against fire. So he's literally giving you HP right now. And what you want to do is, so you want to be doing, so with Cloud, power cleaves and spell blades to, again, build ATB. You've got to use level 3 magic as much as possible here to end this fight quickly, because eventually Sephiroth will do Octaslash and he can take your whole party out. So, been building up ATB, did a couple of Blizzaras with Aerith, now Tifa has 2 ATBs, so she's going to use, because Sephiroth is weak to fire, he's going to use Blizzaga, and Cloud is going to be doing Spell Blades here. You can see we just staggered Sephiroth, so it's close to over. Another Blizzaga takes him down, and then that Spell Blade finishes him off. So that was that for Ruler of the Outer Worlds. So my final time I'm very happy with, 3:11. I got a better time at one point a few months back. I got 3:08, but pretty much a very similar build, very similar mechanic. And I hope this can help everyone who gets to see it. And like I said, I have a full materia breakdown at the end of the video, so please stay tuned for that. But appreciated presenting this to everyone. All right, I'll introduce the builds a little bit. So you got 3 mages essentially built at close to 500 magic stat. Cloud, for most of this run, is going to be using 3 things: Thundaga, Power Cleave, and Spellblade. And Power Cleave and Spellblade are the primary sources of ATB outside of ATB boost. Tifa is going to be using Aroga, Blizzaga, and then just doing some regular attacks to build her own ATB. Aerith is going to be using Aroga, Faraga, and Thundaga, and again is heavily relying on Cloud with the Spell Blades to build ATB. Tifa is relying on the Power Cleave. In this setup, I do boost the HP. I also try and boost the regular defense stats to give a little bit of a better chance against Gilgamesh and Virtual Sephiroth, but that's preferential. You could boost the magic too if you want to, but I found that this build works best to get a full run in every time. Hope you enjoy it.